Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 kill team video, where today I'm going over the review of the Mandrakes kill team found in Kill Team Nightmare. But before getting into things first, thanks goes to Games Workshop for providing this to review for free. As always, I aim to be honest, impartial and constructively critical. And please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check down in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But let's get into the video. So yeah, I'm covering the Mandrakes kill team found in Kill Team Nightmare. And I'll have a review of both Kill Team Nightmare and the Nemesis Claw as well, which you can find on the channel and in the articles in the episode description below. But here is what the kill team has. So for archetypes, you have Infiltration, Recon, and Seek and Destroy, which, once again, like if you've watched my Nemesis Claw review, what is the point? You might have well have just given them all four archetypes. Personally, I think they should have just been Infiltration and Seek and Destroy. It doesn't really make sense that they're Recon, but what, even Infiltration and Recon, okay? Yeah, but probably should have just been Seek and Destroy and Infiltration. Giving them all three, I'm never a fan when a kill team has 3 or more archetypes, like literally just give them 4 at that point. But anyway, outside of that, you have your leader and 8 operatives, so your 9 operative kill team, like most Eldari kill teams. For Tac Ops, you have Death from Darkness as faction Tac Op 1. You reveal this during any target reveal step. If a friendly operative is activated within Shadow and performs the charge action, incapacitates an enemy operative in combat, and then ends the activation within Shadow, you score 1 VP, and if you do it again, you get another. This is so easy. Like, it's just effectively an auto score from this kill team, but you'll see. Then you've got Shadow's Reach, which is faction Tac Op 2. Reveal this during any target reveal step. At the end of any turning point, if friendly Mandrake operative controls a terrain feature wholly within your opponent's territory that has any part with the heavy trait, you score 1 VP, and if you do it with a different terrain feature than a subsequent turning point, you get another. Friendly operatives control such a feature if the total OPL of Mandrakes within it Shadow is greater than that of enemy operatives. So this does technically need clarity, because how are you measuring the enemy operatives? Obviously it means within an inch, but it doesn't actually state that. Regardless, obviously this is an auto score on Into the Dark. Like, it's weird. Broken on certain maps, not so much on others, but also a really good Tac Op. Then you've got Haunting Manifestation. Reveal this Tac Op in the target reveal step of any turning point. Select 1 enemy operative. At the end of any turning point, excluding the 4th, if any operative is visible and within blue of that operative, you score 1 VP. If you achieve the first condition at the end of the battle and the enemy operative is not being incapacitated, you score 1 VP. This is like the thematic Tac Op, right? It's not good. Too much setup, and your opponent can just force you to kill this operative by like contesting points and stuff. So I just take either Death from Darkness or Shadow's Reach. Then we have actions and abilities. First, you have Shadow Passage. 1 friendly Mandrake operative can perform the unique action at each turning point. So for Shadow Passage, 1 AP. If this operative is within Shadow, perform a free normal move with it, but instead of moving it, remove it from the kill zone and set it back up again within Shadow, but not within engagement range nor line of sight of enemy operatives. It cannot make shooting attacks until the next turning point. So get a board-wide teleport, but you can only technically do it once per turning point. Then you've got within Shadow. An operative is within Shadow if any of the following are true. You're within black of a heavy part of terrain and not lower than it, so basically you can't be on a vantage point. Any part of its base is under a vantage point. It's within black of a Shadow portal token, which we'll see later. So the problem of being within Shadow is it's so easy to do. And like if you look at the Night Lord's Nemesis Claw kill team, they have to effectively achieve all 3 bullet points just for their effective getting obscured. You should at least have to match 2 of these, but I understand why the way it is. It's so easy to do. You're effectively always going to be in Shadow when you need to be. Then we have Umbral Entities. So each friendly Mandrake has a 5-up invulnerable save and increasing to a 4+ while in Shadow, which I'm sure is fine. And then Soul Strike. Mandrake operatives have ranged weapons with the Soul Strike special rule. Each time a friendly operative makes a shooting attack with such weapon in the roll defense dice step, saves are determined differently. Invulnerable saves cannot be used. Each time a result that is equal to or less than the target's APL is a successful save is retained. So instead of rolling your normal armor saves, you roll based your APL. And each result that higher than its target's APL is discarded. Each retained roll over 1 is a critical save. So, for an example, if you're a 2 APL model, you only make a saving roll of a 1 or a 2, and a 1 is a crit. And then if you're a 3 APL model, you're only saving on a 1, 2, or 3 with a 1 being a crit. This is absolutely crazy. Like, it's not broken, but it doesn't scale well at all. It's a very confusing and doesn't really feel thematic for the ability. I would have just given it no cover and stun, you know? I think this result is crazy because it effectively means elites, you know, they have a 50-50 save, so they go down for a 3-up to a 4-up. Everyone just gets a 5-up save instead. So if you have those crucial 4-up saves or 3-up saves and you have a 2 APL, it's just weird. And it's going to cause a lot of confusion, but we'll get into it. For strategic ploys, you have Creeping Horror for 1 CP until the end of the turning point. After each enemy operative's activation, before the next operative is activated, you can perform a free dash action with 1 friendly Mandrake that has a conceal order if it starts that action while within shadow. Each friendly operative can only be selected for this ploy once per turning point. So they gave this kill team free dashes. You do have to start within shadow, but on most boards, this is going to be entirely broken, especially as you do it after your opponent has activated, so they don't really have a time to react. And especially if they have GA2 models, you can now suddenly activate 2 different, like you can do 2 free dashes. This should have been CP1+. I mean, I don't even think it should have existed. It's not even locked to ready operatives. You just have to have a conceal order and within shadow. Ridiculous. So much free movement. Anyway, it's fine. I'm sure it's okay. Then you've got Gloaming Shroud for 1 CP. Until the end of the turning point, each time a shooting attack is made against a friendly Mandrake within shadow, in the roll defense dice step of that shooting attack before rolling the defense dice, you can retain 1 save normally without rolling it. This is really good, but it's just okay for this kill team. So still a great defensive ploy, but it's not bad. It's matchup dependent when you would use it. Then you've got Blade in the Dark for 1 CP until the end of the turning point. Friendly Mandrake operatives that have a conceal order can perform the charge action if they start and or end that action within shadow. So for 1 CP, your entire kill team can charge with the conceal order as long as you start within shadow or end that action within shadow. Ridiculous. What? It's madness. So powerful. Then you have Inescapable Nightmare for 1 CP. Until the end of the turning point, each time a friendly Mandrake operative within shadow fights in combat or makes a shooting attack in the roll attack dice step of that combat or shooting attack, you can reroll 1 of your defense dice. So effectively, you're using this turning point 2, 3, and 4. A really good selection of strategic ploys there, especially like it's Creeping Horror. Like Creeping Horror, you pop turning point 1, then turning point 2, you plop Blade in the Dark and Inescapable Nightmare. Crazy, so good. Then for tactical ploys, you have Sliver Out of Sight for 1 CP. Use this at the end of any operative's activation. Select 1 friendly Mandrake operative that has an engage order and is within shadow. Change the operative's order to conceal. So some nice ways to flip back to conceal, especially if you switch to engage. So a nice tech piece of tactical ploy there. Then you've got Soul Feast for 1 CP. Use this tactical ploy at the end of this resolve successful hit step of combat or shooting attack made by a friendly Mandrake against an enemy operative within red of it. That friendly operative regains a number of wounds equal to the enemy operative's APL multiplied by the number of attack dice that afflicted damage in that combat or shooting attack. Excess attack dice are ignored, i.e. if the enemy is incapacitated before the remaining dice are resolved. So generally in combat, you're regaining 4 wounds, which is pretty good. And it's actually better in shooting because you're more likely to do 9 damage to someone to kill them instead of killing them in 2 hits in combat. So you can actually, it's some really nice spot healing, but still pretty good in situational, which is fine. Then for 1 CP, you've got Nowhere to Hide. Use this when a friendly Mandrake operative performs an action which it moves. Until the end of that activation, the operative can move through parts of terrain features as if they were not there. This actually needs an FAQ, because firstly, how does this interact with Into the Dark Walls? Because technically it's not moving through the terrain feature, it's treating them as if they're not there, which is very different to what the wording is for the walls. So we need to have an FAQ on that. And then what happens when you move up a terrain feature? Do you still pay to climb? Do you not? Like, what happens if can you phase through? Let's say you're on the gantry and you're moving through the furnace to the gantry on the other side because they're connected. How does that work? Do you fall as the moment you drop? Do you move, then drop, finish your move, and then try and climb? Like, they just need to clarify this. It's such a huge tactical ploy, but they gave it like the shortest text possible, which is really weird. Then you've got Shadow's Bite for 1 CP. Use this after an enemy operative performs a charge action, then the fight action, and selects a friendly operative within Shadow as the target. In the resolve successful hit step of that combat, you are the attacker, i.e. you resolve her first hit. If both operatives have a rule which affects that, even if it's from different army lists, it has no effect for both operatives. Interesting, it references army lists. Is this for next edition? But because it should say rosters or kill team, so very interesting it says army lists, but it basically cancels out people who would, like, you know, parry first or strike first. So it's a situationally good ploy, which is fine, right? Mainly you've got nice ploys to spend when you need them, depending on the matchup or the time of the game, and then you have your almost auto use strategic ploys. Like, all of them are so good. For operatives, we first have the Mandrake Night Fiend, who is your leader, who has 9 wounds, a 6 up save, and 2 APL. So basically the normal footprint for an Eldari model, just 9 wounds because it's the leader. Has Bale Blast, which is 4 attacks in on freeze, 3/4 Soul Strike, as we've already covered. Then it has a Husk Blade, which is 5 attacks in on 2, 4/6 lethal 5 up stun. It has Harrowing Whispers. So each time your opponent would activate a ready enemy operative within red of this operative, you can roll 1d6. If the result is greater than that enemy operative's APL, they cannot activate this activation. If there are no other enemy operatives eligible to be activated, this ability has no effect. So not only can you just automatically, potentially, highly likely shut down one of your opponent's key operatives, you can keep doing it until they're effectively the last operative to activate. Why this is needed with no counterplay is insane. Like, even a Space Marine on a 50-50 chance can't activate. And it's even crazier if you put this guy within range of like 2 or more operatives, because your opponent goes, I'm going to activate this operative first, roll a d6. Nope, I'll activate the other operative, then roll a d6. No, like, you can just pin a guy. It's so powerful. I can't believe this isn't just like once per turning point. Sure, once they run out of operatives, then it just automatically activates. But it's so much stalling power that it's just wild. Then you've got Oubliex. At the start of each turning point, or if this operative incapacitates an enemy operative with its Husk Blade, its Oubliex becomes activated. While its Oubliex is activated, each time an attack dice would inflict damage on this operative, you can roll a d6. On a 5+, ignore the damage inflicted from that attack dice, and this operative's Oubliex is no longer activated. So effectively, it's always activated. And then if you burn it and then kill someone, it goes on for again. It is only a 5 up just to scratch. But, I mean, why did this leader need the Oubliex and Harrowing Whispers? Like, if it just had Harrowing Whispers, it would already be strong. Oubliex has the potential to just RNG your opponent out of any chance of shutting this operative down. It's just wild. It's just wild. Then you have the Abyssal, who has Bale Surge, which can either be used as a blast, 5 attacks in on freeze, 3/4 blast, Soul Strike, or Burn, which is 5 attacks in on 3/4 lethal 5 up, Soul Strike. So really good source of anti-horde tech there. It's got a Glimmersteel Blade, which is 4 attacks in on freeze, 4/5 lethal 5 up. Has the Balefire ability, so each time a friendly Mandrake operative makes a shooting attack against an enemy operative that has one of your Balefire tokens, see right? For that shooting attack, add 1 to both damage characteristics of that friendly operative's ranged weapons, and they have the no cover special rule. Each time a shooting attack is made against the friendly operative that has one of your Balefire tokens, subtract 1 from both damage characteristics of the enemy operative's ranged weapon for that shooting attack to a minimum of 1, which is extra depressing if you stack this on your leader. So for unique actions, you have Wreath and Balefire for 1 AP. Select 1 visible operative to this operative that doesn't have one of your Balefire tokens. Until the start of this operative's next activation, until this operative is incapacitated, that selected operative gains one of your Balefire tokens. This operative cannot perform this action while within engagement range of enemy operatives. So what you can do, switch to engage, blast someone, then tag someone with Wreath and Balefire, then switch to conceal. It's kind of crazy this doesn't work on line of sight. Going off of visibility is kind of crazy. Like this, It's just wild. It's such a good operative with so many utility pieces for this kill team while being a great damage dealer. It's just great. Then you have Chooser of the Flesh. So he has a Bale Blast as well, and a Bale Blade, which is 4 attacks, hitting on freeze, 5/6 brutal, lethal 5-up, and reap 2. He has the Soul Harvest ability, so each time an enemy operative is incapacitated as a result of this operative's Part Collector ability or Bale Blade, including as a result of the reap critical hit rule, add one of your Soul Harvest tokens to your pool, or 2 if that enemy operative have an APL characteristic of 3 or more. Each time a friendly operative is activated, you can spend one of your Soul Harvest tokens to either add 1 to their APL until the end of the battle or have it regain d6 lost wounds. You can spend your Soul Harvest tokens even if this is dead. So it does need some slight clarifications here because it isn't technically a modifier in terms of, like, it just needs better wording, so, or even just explanation, so you can't pick the same operative to have 4 APL, right, or even 5, so it just needs some tighter wording there. You will never really use the healing. The APL is so much more important, and it actually makes this like the key part of the kill team. If your Chooser of the Flesh can't get any kills, especially if it gets only kills turning point 3 or 4, you're probably in a bad shape because it basically kills someone, and if you set up so it kills multiple operatives thanks to reap, you can make 2 or more operatives for APL, which is huge. Then you have the Part Collector ability. Each time an enemy performs a fallback action with engagement range of this operative, you can use this ability. If you do so, they suffer d6 mortal wounds before they move. So there's a high chance of just killing people, which punishes kill teams that have abilities to basically maneuver out of combat for free or for a reduced cost. So yeah, it's amazing. A key essential part of the kill team. Then you have the Dirgemaw, who has the Bale Blast, and also the Horrifying Scream, which is 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, 2/2, range red, indirect soul strike, mortal wounds, 2 stun, and then a Glimmersteel Blade. And then it has Haunting Focus, so once in each strategic phase, when it's your turn to use a strategic deploy pass, you can use this ability instead. If you do so, select one enemy operative for this operative to focus on until the end of the turning point. When your opponent would activate that enemy operative, if this operative is ready, you can activate this operative first. If you do so during your activation, you cannot select any other enemy operatives as targets for combats or shooting attacks made for this operative while that enemy operative is in the kill zone. So effectively, instead of placing a ploy, just pick an enemy operative that you are going to charge or, shoot at anyway, and effectively you can activate that before your opponent picks it. So let's say they put their, Grenadier on point and you've moved and dashed. Like, you can just be within range and then just go, I'm going to activate first. Because then it goes on to the next action, which is Periodelic Projection. Select one enemy operative within shadow or in this operative's line of sight until the start of this operative's next activation or until this operative is incapacitated, whichever comes first. That enemy operative is treated to be injured and cannot have its APL positively modified, and you remove any positive modifiers it has. This operative cannot perform this action while in engagement range of any other enemy operatives. So not only do you have a really good source of indirect damage, but you have another interrupt. So not only do you have your leaders interrupt, you also have your Mandrake Dirgemaw's interrupt. And this is a better interrupt because not only can you just because you can activate from anywhere on the board, you can then move into range and then parody, just remove their APL and make them injured. It's so good at disruption. Why did this kill team need this as well? It's just so weird. It's crazy how powerful this is, especially into kill teams who have 10 or less operatives, because especially, as I said, if they put someone on point, you just shut them down. It's so strong with basically no counterplay. It's actually a little bit hard to use on Into the Dark, but still, it's so good. Then you have the Shade Weaver, who has a Bale Blast and Glimmersteel Blade. It has the ability Shadow Portal. Any number of friendly operatives can perform this Shadow Passage action each turning point if they start the action within white of one of your Shadow Portal tokens and finish the action within white of one of your other Shadow Portal tokens. This does not prevent one operative from performing this Shadow Passage action as normal. You can use this ability even if this operative has been incapacitated. So what this means, when you set up your Shadow Portal, any number of operatives can teleport through this, and you still have the ability to use a Shadow Teleport, excluding this. So It doesn't seem that good at first, kind of, but let's keep going. So open Shadow Portal for 2 AP, remove one of your Shadow Portal tokens, if any, perform a free Shadow Passage action with this operative. If you do so, before and after it moves, place one of your Shadow tokens within white of this operative. So you place your huge objective-sized Shadow Portal tokens. And it doesn't seem great at first, right? But remember, you can do this through Into the Dark walls because you're not moving around the walls, you're just teleporting. As someone who's played a lot of Team Fortress 2 and, you know, has played the Engineer quite a lot, this is amazing. This is effectively your Engineer building a teleport. So on some boards, you can activate this last to get behind enemy lines, or Into the Dark. You can do it to get into the mid board immediately. And if you deploy your operatives wide enough, like close enough, because it's a 4-inch bubble, you can get a lot of operatives in that hole in that 4-inch bubble. You don't even have to be wholly within the token. It is 2 AP to set up, but once you start getting 3 APL or setting up for the next turning point, it's crazy. Then you've got Weave Darkness. Remove your Weave Darkness for 1 AP, if any. Then place your Weave Darkness token in a location that is visible to this operative or an vantage point of a terrain feature that is visible to this operative. Treat it as the intended target for the purpose of visibility lines. That token creates an area of smoke with a radius and unlimited upward height of white, but not below. An operative is obscured if every cover line drawn crosses an area of smoke. This operative cannot perform this action while it's within the engagement range of enemy operatives, and if it's incapacitated, remove the smoke. So it's a smoke token. Really good. Like, I mean, turning point 1, you're usually using the open Shadow Portal token, well, open Shadow Portal, but having an unlimited smoke grenade is also amazing as well. Like, just so strong. Then you have your standard Mandrake warrior, who unfortunately here they've put a top knot on, but it has the Shadow Warrior ability. It's also on with Bale Blast and Glimmer Steel Blade. So while this operative is within Shadow, add 1 to the critical damage of its Glimmer Steel Blade. So it gets a 4 attack power weapon, which is amazing. And then if you thought it would stop here, you were wrong. On equipment, you have Chain Snares, which is oddly weird that Night Lords have the same thing. So on a, you know, for 1 equipment point on a 4-up, your opponent can't fall back, but it's not great. You've got Haunting Projection for 2 equipment points. It's 1 AP. Select 1 objective marker within red of this operative. Until the end of the battle, when determining control of that objective marker, if this operative is in a kill zone, treat enemy operative's total APL as being 1 less. Note this operative can only perform this action once, which is fine, but you just, it's like you pick an objective and you're like, sucks to be you, elite teams. So very good there. Then you have Shadow Glyph. For 3 equipment points, while this operative has a conceal order, it's always treated to have a conceal order regardless of any other rules. So you, for 3 equipment points, you get Super Conceal, and you can put this, you can take this 3 times. You've got Spectral Essence. Each time this operative performs a dash action for 2 equipment points, you can move an additional black for that action. So every time you dash is 4 inches. And remember, for a strategic ploy, you can do a free dash. So you can now dash 4 inches, then move and dash for another inch, or just dash 4 inches, then charge. It's great. Then you've got Soul Gem for 2 EP. Select a Bale Blast operative that operative is equipped with. It gains the Blast Black special rule for the battle. So if you're Into the Dark and you wanted to make things even easier for yourself, you give Lethal 5 up to your shooting attacks, which is really, really fine. At least it's only Blast Black. Then you've got Bone Darts for 1 equipment point. It's 4 attacks hitting on freeze, 2 free, range red, limited and silent. So effectively, you have something to spend on if you take 3 Shadow Glyphs. I think onto it, when you're going into elites, you would take Haunting Projection, which is fine. But I would usually be taking 3 Shadow Glyphs with a Bone Dart, or like 2 Shadow Glyphs and 2 Spectral Essences. Like, so crazy good equipment, probably too good, but I'm sure it's all fine. And then you also have the standard selection of narrative rules that you do get for every kill team, which is also good. So overall, wow, the Mandrakes. Whew. Remember, I made a video about combat teams, you know, melee teams being a problem. I do love how Mandrakes effectively have fulfilled all of the problems I've listed, which is fine. I'm sure it's fine. The Mandrakes, so it's a great looking kill team. I have, I'm a long-standing Eldari and Drukhari player. As you can see, here are my lovely painted Mandrakes, which may have featured on Warhammer Community. The main problem, though, is top knots are the only actual ways to identify your specialists, but you can also put top knots on normal operatives. And I think while this kill team does feel very much like a kill team after you see the rules, it is literally the most, I'm pretty sure I've said this on stream or like on video a few times, this is the most cursed way you can have a kill team. Having, like, literally, I was like, oh, but depending on the weapon of the operative, that will be your specialist. And effectively, that's what they've done. So, like, at least the big fireball and shadow cloak operative are easy to tell. The leader is really hard to tell that it's a leader. Like, it's just a pain. It's, like, not only confusing for your opponent, it's confusing for you as well. It's like, have I activated my leader? Or have I activated a normal Mandrake? I don't know. It's just weird, right? But this kill team has worrying levels of power creep. I am very concerned about how easily this team breaks into the dark. Considering Season 3 is supposed to be a more competitively tested season, from what I've heard, it's very strange that this kill team literally is designed to break into the dark. I'm all for thematic rules and making kill teams feel more like the narrative, but there comes a point where you literally break a core map that people play, where you have to go, maybe we've gone too far. Even on very dense, well, even on dense heavy boards, right? You can abuse it with Mandrakes. Mandrakes, I feel, are going to be a big problem for the game, not to the extent as we've had with other melee kill teams, but the fact it's so easy to be within Shadow, and they have so many rules, powerful rules and interrupt abilities we haven't seen in kill team. It's very concerning. So, like, interrupt mechanics are very powerful. Like, a good example is effectively kind of like hand traps that you had in Yu-Gi-Oh! They dominated the game and have effectively changed how it's played, where they've become essential. Having these similar level of interruption abilities that reliably go off every turning point, or in some cases when it's the leader's ability, every time they try and activate, is crazy. I don't think these abilities needed to exist to the extent they did. And you also have super conceal, you have free dashes, you basically have all the good archetypes you need, so Tac Ops effectively become a joke. While this kill team does struggle into some elite teams, namely Legionary and actually the Nemesis Claw, and probably maybe Galapox Infected, maybe? It's so weird. Like, they're so good. It's worrying. They're actually not that great on Beta Decima because it's more harder to be within Shadow on Beta Decima. But at the moment, most people play on Open and Into the Dark, and it's going to force some really skew boards in order to try and balance this if Mandrakes become a problem. And I think they will. Like, they really need to come out with a lot of FAQs for the Mandrakes, because they've tried to clarify as much as they can, but they do some crazy stuff on Into the Dark, and it's very concerning. I think they're a fun kill team to play. You're going to feel like a proper Mandrake, but your opponents may hate you because they may find this kill team is ridiculous, with effectively having a 4-up invuln, unlimited range shooting that effectively makes everyone either have a 5-up save or a 4-up save, and then really good combat skills. And not only that, the ability to shut down your plays and incredible mobility tools. Like, you can literally teleport across the map with any operative, and then you can do it again with your teleporter to set up a group teleport. Now, while there is counterplay, you have to end within Shadow, so you have to have a conceal order and all of this jazz. It's crazy. Like, wow. It's like, there's just so much stuff you can do, especially on Into the Dark. It's worrying. And like, your equipment is so good. I think the main problem, like, you might actually be hard getting these because apparently they're really good for 40k as well. It's just, I feel like this kill team has been power crept way more than it should have. But this is a similar problem I have with Nightmare as a whole, and also the Nemesis Claw. So it's still a fun kill team. Like, you'll have fun painting it, playing it. It's just so strong. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you think of the Mandrakes. Are you as worried as I am? Worried and happy? I've been a Mandrake player since Kill Team 2018. But remember, I also have a Discord. You can check out in the episode description below, and affiliate element games, which can net you a 15 to 25% discount at no additional cost to yourself while helping to support the channel. And a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And I'll quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Tom, Supercow, Sam, Nick, Kenzie, John Thomas, Graham, Freeman, Dave Meetswell, Dad of Golden's Ben, and for my veterans of the crit, I have Samja. So thank you so much for all your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, you know, I'll have my Nemesis Claw review if you haven't seen, my Nightmare review. It's kind of delayed some of my videos, and if you'll see, I may have got a haircut in between one of my videos. But it's like the Mandrakes are fun. Like, they're probably maybe going to be okay, but it just worries me. They have all the hallmarks of a kill team that is going to be broken. And I just hope I'm wrong. I'd be happy if I'm wrong. I'm going to be happy. I'll be like, yeah, I'm wrong. I love being wrong. You know, it's fine. I'll play tester. But remember, even if you're being haunted by Eldari shadow demons, there's always a chance to win as long as you can roll a crit.